Captain Marvel is an extraterrestrial Kree warrior who finds herself caught in the middle of an intergalactic battle between her people and the Skrulls. Living on Earth in 1995, she keeps having recurring memories of another life as U.S. Air Force pilot Carol Danvers. With help from Nick Fury, she tries to uncover the secrets of her past while harnessing her special superpowers to end the war with the evil Skrulls. What's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob with my review of Captain Marvel. Yes, the highly anticipated latest entry into the MCU, preceding Infinity War, but preceding Endgame, Avengers Endgame coming up. But yeah, so there's a lot of buzz, both good and bad, surrounding this movie. I've shared some of my thoughts on that on my Facebook page just throughout the past couple of weeks. I don't plan on talking too much about it here. Some people have gotten kind of worked up by things Brie Larson has said, how she spun certain things. There's this whole thing about Brie Larson not wanting white males to watch her movie or whatever. Technically not, she kind of just wants more diversity with it, but at the same time, she also said, the movie wasn't made for a 50-year-old white male dude, so she doesn't really care what a random guy thinks about it, just the females. And I'm not gonna get too much into that right now. I just really want to look at it for the movie itself. But the unfortunate truth is that no matter what Brie Larson said, it's really spawned a lot of just toxic behavior among fans. It's really just spun out of control. It's almost worse than what happened with Black Panther, because you have I'm sure there's a set of people, there's some douchebags out there that legitimately probably have this weird grudge against a woman leading a movie. But then at the same time, you have people who maybe they just didn't like the movie as much as you, and then they're getting called either a troll or just sexist, what have you, just because they didn't like the movie as much. And if they don't, they can't be telling the truth, right? They just they can't. So that part is a bit frustrating. But now the point is, if you get some sort of value out of this, from what kind of or what Captain Marvel can sort of represent, okay. But really, it should also just work from a purely entertaining comic book movie standpoint, right? Kind of reaching that general more broad audience. And me, I of course I really enjoy Marvel movies. I've loved many of them. I've liked some, and then there are some that just didn't quite hit home with me. And for me, Captain Marvel was fine. It was kind of somewhere in between for me. There are movies I'd put below it, and there are more movies I'd put ahead of it. But for me, it was kind of somewhere in the middle. I see that kind of going that way with a lot of reviewers I actually watch. Seems to be a similar stance on it. Another similar comparison is that it kind of feels like a Phase 1 movie. It feels sort of more grouped into those first Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man movies because of how the origin story is worked into it. And there are just things that don't quite work as well as they did in some of the more recent Marvel movies. So it kind of feels like it's an earlier film where they're still trying to get a grip on how to do certain things. So it's kind of weird in that sense. They do try and tell the origin story a different way. It's kind of communicated through flashes that she remembers and such. So that part was a little bit different. But yeah, overall, I liked it. I did enjoy parts of it. But mostly I'm just kind of lukewarm on it. We have Brie Larson as Captain Marvel here, Carol Danvers, and I thought she did a fine job. Like I said, there's a lot, kind of surrounding her, but, just from a acting standpoint, performance-wise, I thought she was fine. She was good. She had some decent back-and-forth chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson, LaShawn Lynch, and, some of the other characters. This version of Captain Marvel is, sort of emotionally distant. So you can't really pick on her too much for that part of it. There are other actresses I would have actually chosen for this role first. Catherine Winnick comes to mind, Yvonne Strahovski, Charlize Theron are some of my personal picks. But I thought Brie Larson herself was serviceable. I don't really have much of an issue with her, at least from her acting. For the most part, I do think she was a bit dull sometimes. But I think more of the issue sort of goes with the way the character was written. She feels very distant. Like I said, that's part of her character. But at the same time, you never really see a defining moment for her. I mean, I love the first Thor movie. And yeah, I'm comparing it to, a man. Yeah, that's not the point. Calm down. But Thor, he has that moment where he kind of sacrifices himself in that small town against the destroyer armor that Loki's controlling, showing that he's selfless and worthy of the hammer. Then he gets his power back from Odin, and it's just awesome. That scene still gives me chills. Or even in Wonder Woman, for example, she has that, no man's land, trench scene. Unfortunately for me, I don't really think there was like that definitive moment for her where I was like, oh yeah, this is Captain Marvel, or oh yeah, this is Brie Larson, this is just amazing. There was unfortunately no moment for me like that in the movie. They do sort of, into the final fight, they do sort of tie that back to some of her flashbacks to when she was younger and such, and it is one of the better moments in the movie, but it doesn't really feel like they're going for it, and it's just kind of there. And also, Captain Marvel is supposed to be like our most powerful character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, and I don't buy that either. They don't really nail down like how powerful she actually is in this movie, and she's supposed to be the thing that kind of stops Thanos. I hope not. She can work with them, but if I'm supposed to believe that she's more powerful than Thor after everything Thor has been through and gained, I just don't think so. Has she taken a dying star to the chest? No. Sometimes she seems really powerful, especially in the sequence towards the end where you see her in space in the trailers and everything. But then she has, it takes her longer to clear a room full of people. So it was kind of inconsistent with that. I think it was just kind of the writing, but even still. Now I'm sure it's going to be more of a joint effort. I'm sure it'll be like Thor, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, characters like that kind of working together to stop Thanos. But still, us being told she's the most powerful character is kind of grinds your gears a little bit when you don't actually see it on film. It doesn't really feel executed the proper way they're trying to say it was. So yeah, I'm not buying into it yet, but we'll see how it goes in Avengers Endgame. And as far as Nick Fury, of course, Samuel L. Jackson, he's good in this movie. Yeah, Samuel L. Jackson is Samuel L. Jackson. You get to see him play sort of a younger, a lot of people have been saying, less cynical, less cold version of the character, which is cool. And I gotta say, the de-aging effects are very, very good in this. They used on both him and Clark Gregg's Phil Coulson in this movie, and it looks pretty good. I only noticed it for like a couple seconds with an angle I had on Clark Gregg, but besides that, I thought it was pretty seamless. So I was happy with that, and it was fun to see like a more, sort of optimistic version of Fury. Excuse me, but at the same time, it sort of felt like they overplayed that a little bit. It didn't feel like he would be so upbeat. Even then, it felt like he should have been a little bit more sort of grounded in how he was, or a little bit more, not fully jaded like he is by the time of the Avengers, but somewhere more in between I think they should have gone for. But still, he is entertaining to watch, and he did bring out some of the better scenes for Brie Larson as well. And of course, I gotta talk about, I'm not going to spoil it, but they do show and explain how he loses his eye. And, we've seen that throughout the movies, if the comics and stuff like that. It seems like it'd be a very impactful, meaningful story for the character. But they honestly, they trade that out for kind of an LOL moment. And it's just really unfortunate. It bugged me. It could really be it's a big piece in Fury's history, and they could have really made an interesting sort of personal story for him, but it's just kind of played for another funny moment. So I was bothered by that. But I did want to talk about Lashana Lynch. I did actually like her relationship with Carol Danvers, and also her kid, who kind of sees Carol as like an auntie to her. And I thought that relationship was actually kind of nice. Honestly, the most like well acted scene in the movie, as far as like emotion, is probably just when Lashana Lynch's character and Captain Marvel are sitting across from each other, and she's just trying to, you can't see how much Carol had meant to her, and of course Carol's still distant because she doesn't remember anything yet. And I think they did a really nice job in that scene. Actually, I'll give some credit there. So yeah, Lashana Lynch, she like Samuel L. Jackson kind of brought the best out of Brie Larson in the movie too. And there's also Jude Law, who sort of plays like her mentor type character that she has been serving with for quite a while in the Kree army, and he's good. He's always solid in everything I've seen him in. And then as far as Ben Mendelsohn as our lead sort of Skrull here, our main antagonist, right? I really like the Skrulls as a race and sort of threat in the movie. And Ben Mendelsohn, he is known for playing, kind of just a straight-up villain characters, and he's good at that. But they do add a little bit more to Talos here, and it really worked. I actually honestly liked how that developed. And there's still potential to do kind of whatever they want with the Skrulls in the MCU. Just like, people, there's good and bad, and, good and bad people with all of us. So they can honestly still do whatever they want. And I just like how it went. And even just on their own, we've seen like a lot of army sort of villains in the Marvel movies. You have like the Chitauri in the Avengers, you have like the elves in Thor: The Dark World, the Ultron robots, stuff like that. I will say in terms of like those army, sort of multiple race type characters, Skrulls are probably the most interesting and entertaining to watch, so that worked for the movie as well. And I thought the soundtrack was pretty good, some of the themes and such, kind of typical Marvel, like, inspirational stuff, but it works. But yeah, don't get me wrong, I didn't hate this movie. I liked it. Maybe I'll, when I see it again, I'll like it a little bit more, but there is just something sort of just flat about it. Like I said, this feels like an earlier MCU film where they're still trying to find their legs, and sometimes doesn't even work quite as well as those first Iron Man and Thor movies. So it's just sort of alright, it's just sort of there for me. It doesn't jump out at you, but it is better than a few other ones I've seen, which I will do a ranking video for probably sometime after Endgame releases, just so I don't have to do 2 videos just to include one more movie. But yeah, I didn't love it, didn't hate it. I thought it was not bad, almost solid. So overall, if I had to rate Captain Marvel, I'm giving it about a C+ or 76%. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought about Captain Marvel, if you've seen it just objectively. Know what they're meaning behind it. I just thought it was a fine MCU movie. That's about it. But I thought it was enjoyable. I did like it in spurts for sure. So yeah, let me know what you guys thought. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. And peace.